and provocative, prophetic and practical,
Have you ever found yourself?
Are you dating for that person?
informative and
I feel
inspirational.
every bit of it. Like, I'm not trying to waste my
How you gonna do better if you don't know what better looks like? I do. Come on, let's talk about it with me, the mind massager.
Let's get ready to get. Oh, let me make sure I got the right mic on.
Come on in the room. Y'all come on in. I know I'm late, but let's get started. Hey. All right, I'm about to get started. All right. I know it's late. Come on in. All right, come on in. What's up? What it do? Time for another episode of the Intellectual Stew with yours truly. I am having to share and let people know that I'm on because I'm on extra late tonight because I'm on late tonight. I'm on late. Do y'all want to know why I'm on late? Do you want to know why I'm on? Do you really want to know? I mean, seriously, do you really want to know why? Does it even matter why I'm on late? If you want to know, I'll tell you. The reason I got started late tonight is because let me go back to the beginning. This weekend in Atlanta. Well, let me go back even farther than that. Anybody who knows me knows that I love baseball. Baseball is my favorite sport. Some people love basketball, some people love football, some people love, their respective sports. But I love baseball. I could watch baseball really every day. Yeah, because I used to watch every day. The Braves just aren't as good as they usually are. So I'm not watching them as much this year as I normally watch them. But either way, I'm still a baseball fan. So every now and then, every year they move the All-Star game around. It's kind of like the Pro Bowl for football or the All-Star game for basketball. They move it around, and this year so happens to be in Atlanta. And one of the highlights of All-Star weekend is the home run derby. Where some of the biggest home run hitters in the game will come and they will participate in a competition where they see who can hit the most home runs. And so those tickets were like $400. The other day, today, some of them had dropped, and I wasn't gonna pay it. But I got a phone call this afternoon, and they said, "Hey, do you still want to go?" I really kind of didn't want to go because Ronald Acuna is wasn't in the home run derby, but it's a bucket list type situation. So I said, you know what, I'll go, and I'll leave about 8:45 and come home and do my show. Well, 8:45 turned to 9:15, 9:15 turned to 9:30, and I finally just got up and walked out. But I walked out and had to catch an Uber and all those things. So I caught my Uber and I made it home about 9:58. And I put out there that I was going to start the show at 10. So we're a little late getting it started, but nonetheless, we are here. So I'm talking now. I honestly, I had somebody that I wanted to come on tonight, and she already told me that she probably wasn't going to make it anyway because of the lateness of the hour. But um, but now that I've made it even later, I'm sure she is probably not listening. What up, Marcus? How you doing, bud? Marcus, yeah, I'm gonna have to get Marcus on the show one day and let him sing for us, because Marcus is a excellent singer. He's like real good because he does like shows and all that kind of stuff. So I try to sing in church, but then he does like shows and stuff. So he is real with it. So happy to have him tonight. I think this might be one of, well, I don't know. He might have been listening before and just had never told me, but I appreciate people who listen. I am putting the link in the chat. Y'all know how I do. It is open mic night. I'm gonna put out a topic and we're gonna talk about that topic. But you are welcome to interrupt me whenever you choose. I got the phone number up, but I don't have the phone on. So let me put the phone on. Listen, I'm late. So since I'm late, I don't. What's up, Anthony? What's up, bro? Y'all men coming in here, man. Y'all do something for me showing up like this, because what's starting to happen, Marcus? Okay, cool, Marcus, cool. What's starting to happen, Anthony? What's starting to happen, Marcus, is that we're creating this safe space, right, where we can come and share our convictions. We can come and we can listen to other people as they go through the vicissitudes of life and learn how they got victory over those vicissitudes, and perhaps you eavesdrop, you can pick up and get some victory yourself, right? So I'm appreciative of all the brothers who are showing up, and my sisters typically show up. Hopefully they'll see that we're on here in a minute, and they will come in and be a part of what we are doing. I'm going to go ahead and shoot this link to the young lady that I asked to be on the show. Y'all, I'm real talk. I'm kind of pumped right now because like I got a chance to go to the All-Star Game Home Run Derby. That was major, man. I mean, I got to see some monster home runs. O'Neal Cruz from the what you call it? The what's the name of the team? The Pittsburgh Pirates. Big, tall, light, Dominican, one of those Latino brothers. But this cat hit a ball 500 and something feet. Can you imagine somebody hitting a baseball 500 and something feet? Other guys were hitting them 450, 475. And and I watched my son grow up around baseball. So seeing him do the baseball thing, man, and then to watch these guys do it at the highest level, it was literally amazing, just to watch. And they got like so many swings in a 3-minute period, and then they had a bonus round, and it was cool. It was cool. It really was. I hated that I had to leave, and I know I could have. I know y'all would have given me a reprieve. I know it. I know y'all would have been cool if I would have said I can't make it tonight. What's up, Alicia? Alicia, make sure I get my water intake right. That's my partner. So Alicia, I appreciate you. But listen, go ahead and share this. Let people know that we're on. I hope Dwayne and Dennis haven't gone to bed just yet. I hope they get on here, and we'll see how long we're on tonight. I had a long day. Marcus, I'm back in the car business. I took an internet manager job on the South Side. You see the face I made? I took an internet position on the South Side, manager position. So worked all day, got that call about, and typically what I do on Mondays is I get through with work around 6:30, come home, get a chance to walk the dog, take about an hour nap, look over my notes, make sure I have my aesthetics together, all those things. I didn't get a chance to do any of that tonight. I came home, got dressed, had somebody take me to the stadium, went straight in, got the game. Okay. I'm looking for somebody. I need another internet person. But I am at and that's all challenge credit though. But I'm at Kia South Atlanta in Morrow. I'm in Kia, and Conley's back in the business as well. So hey, but listen, let's get this thing started. Y'all, I see some people starting to come in now, and I'm interested to see how this 10 o'clock hour does, because we do 9:30, and lately when I close at 10:40, I've been having 10, 11 people still on. So we're gonna see. Yeah, bro. I don't know about how welcome I'm gonna be in this business, Doc. I'm this is what I do, man, and I'm doing it. I'm doing it. But hey, we'll see how it goes. All right, I'm gonna see. So yeah, listen, everybody that's on now, do me a favor. I need to do two things. Everybody that's listening to me now, I need you to do two things. Number one, I need you, brothers. I know it's hard to do because I don't really heart your post either. I ain't gonna lie, I like them. I don't really heart them because some people. But I need y'all to heart this post, or you can like it. I don't care. Heart. I really would like for you to heart it. Heart the post and then share it. Do that first, heart the post, and then share it, and do those things for me, and then I'll get started with what we're going to talk about. What I'm going to give you is I'm going to start talking about 5 steps to getting unstuck, or 5 steps to true healing. I might do it fast tonight and then do it a little bit. Only one person did it. I got 7 people listening, but only one person did it. Heart the post, please. Pretty please. Heart the post. Who did it? Marcus did. Thank you, Marcus. Heart the post. And after you heart the post, share the post. Share the post. And then I'll get started. As soon as I see 5 people heart the post, well, 4 people, I ain't gonna make it hard. 4 people heart the post, then I'm gonna go ahead. Thank you, Marcus. I'm gonna go ahead. Yeah, come on, Anthony Hart. There you go. Heart the post for me. Heart the post. Alicia, go ahead and do that for me. And then I'm going to go ahead and get started. Okay, there's 3. Good. All right, welcome back to the Intellectual Stew, where we slow down and stir up the questions that matter most. I'm your host, James Kirklin, and tonight we're talking about something almost everyone feels at some point, but rarely knows how to escape. What do you do when you feel stuck? What do you do when you feel stuck? Because being stuck, Anthony, being stuck, Marcus, hey, Cynthia, how you doing? Being stuck can look different for each of us. Sometimes it's emotional. It seems like you're trapped under guilt or grief. Sometimes being stuck is mental. It's like being stuck in a cycle of fear or in a cycle of regret. Other times being stuck is spiritual. It's like your prayers feel unanswered. Hope feels distant and seems to dissipate. And sometimes being stuck is relational, because you're bound to patterns, places, or people that hold us back. And maybe you've said, and I've said it to myself, Anthony, I'm sure you've said it, that I should be farther along by now. Why do I keep making the same mistakes? Nothing I do seems to change anything. Good evening, Cynthia. If that's you, know this: stuck isn't where your story has to end. Tonight, what I want to do, if y'all help me, if you'll indulge me for a little while, what I want to do is I want to walk you through what I call the path to healing. And the reason I know it works is because there was a time in my life where I was hurting and I needed healing. And even when I was stuck, if those of you all who have received the book, when I was stuck on the couch, as I named the book, I always knew that better existed. And I even knew, Marcus, what better looked like. but I had a problem getting from where I was to where I needed to be. And see, what happens oftentimes is when you stay stuck where you were, people only remember you where you were. So you could have had you could have had a change of address. It's so funny to me when I go back to Little Rock. When I go back home to Little Rock, I've been gone 30 years. I've been gone like 30 years, man. That's a long time. And so when I drive around the city and I see houses that my friends grew up in, you know what? I can go to those houses, but my friends don't live there anymore. I can knock on the door, I can do whatever I want. But the people that used to live in that house, the people that I used to associate with, they no longer live in those places of residence. They've moved. And check it out. When you've been hurting, when you have been stuck, sometimes people only remember you where you were. You could have had a total transformation. You could have moved, you could have changed addresses. You could have once been cantankerous. You could have been once been somebody who was angry, but then all of a sudden you went through this mental health shift and things changed. But people would keep you where you were because they only remember you where you were. And I got to be honest, there were some things I did in my life that probably weren't the best decisions, even with regard to my family and things of that nature. I didn't always make the right decisions. So when I found myself alone, when I found myself broken, when it seemed like I had finally gotten to the place where I had gotten to the lowest common denominator, I mean, I was in my low place, as Joseph called it, his pit. David said he was in a pit. He was in a low place. Whenever you found yourself in a low place, in a pit, hey Myra, how you doing? In those low moments, then you start to ask the question, how do I move from where I am to where I'm supposed to be? And then the next thing you realize is, guess what? You're alone. But guess what, Myra? Just because you're alone don't mean you got to be lonely, right? Because I realized that even in my aloneness, that there was a constant that was with me. There was something, there was a presence. I don't know what your presence is. I call it the Holy Spirit. I call it Jesus Christ. I call it God. So in those moments, that presence kept me. See, there's a scripture that says, now unto him that's able to keep you. The word keep in the Greek means it's the word phulasso. Phulasso means that it's something that should have expired, something that should have spoiled, something that should have its lease on life should have been eradicated. But when it's been preserved, see, grandmama used to take fruit. She'll go out in the yard. We ain't have to go to Walmart. We ain't have to go to, back then they had Mad Butcher. We ain't have to go to Mad Butcher. We ain't have to do any of those things. We could go out in the yard. I could pick apples. I could pick pears. I could pick plums. And grandmama would do this process of preservation and make preserves out of that fruit. Now, the fruit under normal conditions would have spoiled, right? And sometimes in your low place, it seems as though you would have spoiled, but really God was taking you through a process to get you where he really needed you to be. And here's the first step on the path to true healing. The first step is isolation. Isolation. Listen, healing does not start by pushing harder. Sometimes it starts by pulling away. But when you pull away, it's not to run from life. That was never the intention, to run from life, right? But it's to see life differently. Sometimes you just got to back up and kind of look at life through a different perspective. And it's not that when you're alone, it's not because people don't like you. It's not because you don't fit in. Sometimes God is isolating you so that, and we'll get to it a little bit later, he's isolating you so he can elevate you. How many of you want to go higher? Don't fool me. How many of you really want to go higher? Don't fool me. But a lot of times the reason you can't go higher is because of who you're connected to. Do you realize that like spirits attract like spirits? Does that make sense? Like spirits attract like spirits. So if you are depressed, you end up attracting people who are or who deal with depression. That you're not around people who can challenge you, because see, here when you're hurting, and I can only talk for me. When you're really hurting, what happens a lot of times is when people start to try to give you constructive criticism, you don't view it as constructive criticism. You view it as you view it as them criticizing you. And when they criticize you, you look at that as something, as you end up being offended in that moment. And the reason you're offended is not really because of them, it's because of you. Because of your perception has become so poisoned, because you're in a hurt place. And typically when people are hurting, the main thing they do is they cry out and say what? They say, ouch. Can we talk for a moment? I mean, just for a few moments. I mean, typically that's what people do. When people, when people are hurting, if you step on someone's toes, their natural reaction is to, if they're hurting, is to move the toe or to do whatever they can to express pain. Can we talk for a minute? And let me tell you this. In fact, let me do this right quick. Hold on. Let me tell you this. You know it or not, whether you know it or not, misery really does love company. But what I've learned how to do is that when misery starts, let me say, I want to say this. When misery sends out invitations, inviting me to their pity party, yeah, Myra, I don't accept every invitation that's sent my way. There have been some invitations that I have been given that I didn't show up. and that's just real talk. That's real talk. There have been some invitations that were sent to my address, that was sent my way, that was sent to my house. I got an evite, a text message, an email, whatever. I got all of those things. And just because they sent the invitation didn't mean I had to show up. Do you realize that sometimes people send out invitations to pity parties? And when they send out the invitation to pity parties, they're expecting you to show up. You know why? Because they know that misery, what? Loves company. And just because somebody sends out an invitation to your house or to your address does not mean that you have to show up. Let me see if I can make this video play, because I want y'all to hear this video. Let me see if I can make it play. Hold on. Because it's I meant to download it, but I didn't get a chance to download it. Hold on, it might have to play through. Give me a second. If it don't work, I'm sorry, but let me play it right quick. I'm gonna try to.
The only time I see miserable people happy is when they witness something fucked up happen to somebody else.
Ooh.
That is the most sincerest smirk I've ever seen out of miserable people.
All right. That's not playing like I wanted to play. But what he said was, and it makes a whole lot of sense. He said the only time he see miserable people happy is when they see something messed up happen to somebody else. And see, when you're down, see, it's kind of like Bildad, Zophar, and Eliphaz showing up in Job's room. They sat around all those days while Job was going through what he was going through. And then they tried to sit back and evaluate why he was going through what he was going through. Huh? Listen, when I'm going through it, I don't need people in my life who are evaluating me, trying to tell me what I did that messed me up, that put me in the current position I'm in. I need people who've gone through what I've gone through, grown through it, and have grown through it. And because they've grown through it, they can tell me how to get out of my current situation. I don't need people. I don't need anchors around me. I need elevators. I need people that are congratulating. I need cheerleaders. I need people that while I'm down, that are like Elisha was at the brook of Kerith. He was in a a dry and desolate place. But guess what? Every day ravens showed up with sirloin tips and biscuits. They showed up with something that would nourish him to help him get to the next level. That's why when you're really hurting, when you're really sick, when you're really down, when you're really stuck, you don't need the wrong people around you. That's why it's smart for a season to isolate. Because watch this, isolation is not about punishment. What isolation is, Abe, it's permission to pause. See, when you isolate, what you're able to do is you're able to step back from the voices, the chaos, the distractions until you can hear your own heart. And you know what you ultimately want to hear in that moment? You want to hear God's whisper. And the reason you can't hear the whisper that God is trying to share with you, I told you at the end of last week's show, the reason why you can't hear the whisper is because you have not figured out to turn down, you have not figured out how to turn down the noise. And can I tell you something? It could be noisy even in a silent room. I'm a witness. When I first separated in my marriage, when I first separated and I moved in my own apartment, and I'm in here for the first time in my own apartment, can I tell you something, Mello? The silence sounded just like noise. And it was so loud that I tried to find everything I could to drown out the noise. Yeah. And for a season, because I didn't figure out how to drown out the noise, I couldn't even hear God. And that's what I like about God, is that when he knows that I'm not hearing him, he'll just sit there. He'll just wait. And that's the omnipresence of God. He can be everywhere else at the same time. So even when he's around me, he's checking me out. He's handling me. He's making sure I'm good, right? But even in that moment, because I'm not hearing him yet, because I'm too... see, that's what the enemy does. He wants to keep so much chaos up. He wants to keep up so much confusion. But whenever confusion has shown up, watch this. God is not what's the rest of it, Cynthia? God is not the author of confusion. So if confusion is happening in your household or in your life, and we're talking about our lives tonight, if confusion is not happening in our lives, if confusion is happening in our lives, God ain't the author of that. Nope. He is not the author of it. Do you know this? Let me tell you this. Do you realize people who intentionally unplug, even briefly, report up to 23% lower anxiety and better decision making, according to Frontiers in Psychology? People who intentionally, my girl Myra right now, she's unplugged. She's in Cancun, her and her daughter celebrating, enjoying the water, enjoying the country. She's taking a vacation. She's unplugging. I need a vacation. I ain't gonna lie. I need a vacation, because there are times that you intentionally need to unplug, even if it's for a moment. Take a day, take 2 or 3 days. And because reports say that up to 23% lower their anxiety and better decision making when they unplug. If you're coming in now and you have not shared this, do me a favor, like it or heart it and then share it. And we're going to keep this going. The first step in the power of pulling away is isolation. Isolation. The first step towards true healing, or the first step towards getting unstuck, is isolation. In scripture, yes, in scripture, and I'm working on a sermon. I'm putting one together about this situation. But in scripture, Moses spent 40 years in Midian, not as a fugitive forever, right? Because he ran away after he murdered the Egyptian, because something was inside of Moses, even though he was living among them. When something's inside of you, when they're really inside of you, amen, Cynthia. When something's really, 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 really inside of you and you're supposed to be doing what you're supposed to do, even if you're amongst the Egyptians, when you see your people being wrong, your DNA can't change. He was Hebrew by birth. He was a Hebrew by DNA. So what's up, Kimala? Hey, girl, how you doing? So when he saw his brother being mistreated by the Egyptian, he killed him. And when he killed him, he ran for his life and he went on the other side of the mountain, the back side of the mountain. See, sometimes God will take you out of the limelight, put you on the back side of the mountain in a place of obscurity, a place where everybody forgets about you, let you go and build a life, let you plant crops, let you do whatever it is you feel like you need to do. But in that, he's really preparing you. He's hiding you for a season. But while he's hiding you, he's also covering you. And as he hides you and covers you, he covers you until you become necessary, because Moses had a calling on his life. Can I tell you something? Because God is not a respecter of persons. Just like he called Moses, he called Marcus, he called Kimala, he called Cynthia, he called Myra, he called Donna, he called Lynn, he called all of us, right? We all have a purpose. We all have a calling. And what God will do at certain points in our lives is he'll hide us. And while he hides us, he covers us. And then when we become necessary, then he represents us. Watch this. He represents us when we are ready. Moses was not going to stay hidden forever. He wasn't going to stay a fugitive forever. But as soon as he was ready, he was being prepared to lead. That's why when God said, all right, I want you to go tell Pharaoh, let me go. No, Moses like, no, I'm not a man of speech. When I get there, what am I going to say? Don't worry about what you're going to say. Just tell him I am sent. Well, who is I am? I am that I am sent you. I am the bread of life. That's what he said. So you got to ask yourself, when was the last time you stepped away? Not to escape, but to realign. When was the last time? Because isolation isn't rejection. It's repositioning. See, when you realize, God, I feel this tonight. When you realize that isolation isn't rejection, it's repositioning, you'll even look at your pit different, because you'll understand, watch this, Marcus, you'll understand that your pit has a purpose. Somebody put that in the chat. Say your pit has a purpose. Put that in the chat. My pit has a purpose. And if you're on the backside of your pit, if you've already gotten through it, then make that past tense. Say my pit had a purpose. That's where I'm at. Write that in the chat. My pit had a purpose. Or if you're in the pit right now, my pit has a purpose. But put it in the chat for me. My pit had a purpose. Yes, Lord. My pit has a purpose. If you're in the pit right now, if you've gotten out of your pit, if you're further along in the process, then make that past tense. Say my pit had a purpose. That's where I'm at. Okay. Yeah. If you've been in the pit, that's cool. But watch this, Marcus. See, when you understand that the pit was not about rejection, because that's what I thought for a long time. I thought God had fired me. I thought I forfeited my calling. Right? I operated in guilt for so long because of my mistakes. Right? And and making mistakes, I didn't put myself in a position to receive grace, because for so long I was dealing with the guilt and the resentment and the anxiety and the condemnation and the ego that's associated with what I was going through. So I couldn't even realize or couldn't even experience the grace that God was trying to give me. But when I realized that it wasn't rejection, instead it was repositioning, it was God pulling me to the side so he could speak to me alone. Then I realized in my pit, watch this, I wasn't buried in the pit, I was planted in the pit. And anything planted is planted with the expectation of growing. My daddy was in town this weekend. He came in town, 46 years. They were married. We got a chance to take him out to dinner the other night. But my father don't like traveling. He don't like traveling in the summertime, especially around June, July. The reason why daddy don't like traveling around June, July is because that's his harvest season. See, he planted about 8 weeks ago. He planted, purple hull peas, watermelons, things of that nature. He put that seed in the ground. He did the work, planted what he needed to plant, right? Because he knew July was coming. And because July was coming, he knew that the peas were supposed to come out. And if you don't pick the peas when the peas grow, then what happens? They burn up. See, when you realize that you weren't buried, you were planted. And once you grow, then you go to the next level, then you'll look at your pit totally different. You realize your pit was not about punishment, but your pit was really a platform to promote you. You realize your pit was never about rejection. You realize that your pit was really just about repositioning, because God was not. So you were too busy stuck in your now, but while you were stuck in your now, God was already looking at your next and trying to get you to the next level. But that only happens when we stop having our pity parties. That only stops when we stop compassing the same mountain over and over again. That only happens when we change our perspectives and realize that what God is doing is he's not trying to make us bitter, but on the contrary, what he's doing is he's making us better. Does that make sense? So the first step, when we talk about the 5 steps to getting unstuck, the first step is isolation. But here it is. There's step number 2. I might not get through all these tonight, but step number 2, Marcus Ridley and AJ Gonzalez and Cynthia. Step number 2 is proper association. Proper association. I told you earlier that misery loves company, right? Told you earlier, misery loves company. So by deductive reasoning, what that means is you don't hang around miserable people, because miserable people want to keep you miserable. Video just said a minute ago that trying to get my other bottle of water, that miserable, he said he don't like miserable people because the only time miserable people are happy is when they can document your downfall. They'll act like they're concerned. Oh, baby, yeah, I've been there. And they know how to tell you how to get through it. And really a lot of that. And I've seen people give advice that's untested. And I'm gonna tell you something. If you have not tested your advice, I can't trust. I can't trust your advice. If you have not tested the advice that you're trying to give me right now, if you have not tested that advice, then real talk, don't give me that advice. I mean, real talk. I mean, I'm not really trying to hear it. I need some advice that has been tested, right? So I can tell people about, true story. I called an Uber from the baseball stadium a few minutes ago, and Sean met Sean. Sean was my driver, my Uber driver, and I don't know how we got the subject quick. I said, I got to hurry and get home. I got to do my podcast. He said, well, what's your podcast about? I said, it's called The Intellectual Stew. And, a stew consists of several ingredients. So, I got a little marriage in there. I got divorce in there. I got parenting in there. I got religion in there. I got social justice in there. I can talk about training. I can talk about leadership. He said, okay, you married? I said, no. I said, listen, when I said divorce. Oh, really? How long were you married? 20 years. Well, how can you talk about marriage? I wanted to cuss him, but I'm delivered now. I'm delivered. I don't cuss like I used to cuss. Depending on what day you catch me on, but I don't cuss like I used to cuss. But I didn't cuss him. But I told him, I said, well, I can, my daddy taught me something a long time ago, young man. I can tell people what not to do. I can tell them what mistakes I made, and hopefully they won't make the same mistakes. And so since he was a little cynical, I thought I would give him a little nugget, and I talked to him and I broke down what real growth looks like, because sometimes growth manifests itself in different forms. Sometimes you grow up. Sometimes you grow together. Sometimes you grow apart. Sometimes you grow in different directions. Whatever type of growth takes place, then sometimes you experience growing pains. And when you experience the growing pains and you don't know how to manage the pain from the growth that you're going through, then you react by saying ouch, or you react by saying it hurts, or you do something when you start, because typically what happens, Marcus, when people experience pain, they do one or two things. They either amputate or rehabilitate. And it's a whole lot easier to amputate than it is to rehabilitate. But the only thing about it is when you amputate, you usually end up walking with a limp. I just said something then. When you amputate as opposed to rehabilitating, you end up walking now, and you even standing, but you're not standing quite the same. Right? So what you need to do after you isolate is you need to have proper association. Once you quiet down the noise, and Tanisha, it's hard, Lord have mercy, when you have heard, I'm telling you, when living in a house for 17 years, raising children and a little dog named Chloe, and you hear all of this, my children didn't fight a lot. They didn't argue a lot, but, you heard their voices, dad, mom, yada, 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 the dog barked every time somebody came to the door, all these types. The dog barked if she was guarding the door and you walk by the door, she'll grab. I mean, I'm used to all these sounds, right? I'm listening to all of these sounds. But all of a sudden there are no sounds, but it's still deafening. It still sounds like noise to me. And it took me probably a year, maybe 2 years, I don't know, maybe 3, to finally start to quiet down that noise. And so once I quieted down the noise, then I was ready for proper association. Because let me tell you something. What happens, AJ, I heard Dr. Donna Parsons say this. When you go with what you know, you always end up where you were. Y'all can have that for free. If y'all have not liked this post, like it, heart it, share it. If you've not shared it, share it. I got a few more minutes. I'm enjoying myself. When you go with what you know, you always end up where you were. So it stifles your ability to grow to the next level. So when you continue, you're going through misery, you're going through depression, you're in your low place, but you keep on hanging around the same people. I'm what I'm talking about. People that they know you down. So when you're down, they're gonna come over and they're gonna bring the 6-pack. And or when you walk up, they're gonna give you something that's gonna take you lower. It might make you feel better, you might get high, but when you come back down, you still got the same problem, right? So you're not associating with the right people, because once you quiet down the noise, you got to choose who you're gonna let speak back into your life. Does that make sense? Because understand, isolation starts the healing process, but healing isn't meant to happen in permanent isolation. It happens with the proper association, because it's not just being about it's not about any crowd. It's just about being with the right crowd. You need to be around people who see your potential, people who hold you accountable, and then speak life into your broken situation. My little neighbor, she's on here now, Tanisha. And we challenge each other. She tell me something. She knows that. She's like, oh, shut up, Jane. But I challenge her because I care about her. I care about her kids. I care about all, because they're my folks. We good. And if you in my life and I can't speak into you and you can't speak into me, then we don't need to be talking. What we doing for? We're not in a covenant relationship. That's why I don't have a lot of friends. I don't rock with a lot of people. And I'm super cautious, because there were times where I wanted to be, I wanted to be accepted so bad. I wanted to fit in certain crowds, but when I wanted to fit in those crowds, Marcus Ridley, I would be in a room full of people, but I would feel like I was all by myself. Anybody else felt like that? Because it was not the proper association. It was a powerful association. Some of those cats had the power to change my life. I mean, really, they could open up doors, and but God never allowed me to walk through those doors. I never understood it. He never, I never, ever understood why I would get so close but wouldn't go through. Because it was not proper association. If you're going to have proper association, you need to have a connection with someone that can correct and can cover you at the same time. And listen, everybody doesn't want that position in your life. And not only that, but everybody does not deserve that position in your life. Am I talking to somebody tonight? See, if you're going to move from the place of brokenness to a place of better, if you're going to get unstuck, because somebody right now, listen to me, you're stuck in a relationship, you're stuck in a cycle like the children of Israel. You've been going around the same rock for 38 years, going through the same problem, going through the same situation every year, certain things. I got somebody just jumped on tonight. They hollered at me. They said, James, thank you for a post today, because I disconnect before my birthday, because they were going through the same anxiety, the same situation over and over again, because we've not taken the time to heal while we're in isolation. And because we don't heal, and ain't it funny, Myra, we'll bleed publicly, but we won't take the time to heal privately. Why is that? We'll sit up and bleed on everybody else by telling them every one of our problems, every one of our situations. I owe you a baby some. What she said? She off chocolate milk on? What's she on? Fruit snacks now? Maury, I'm trying to get I got to book this baby, y'all, for some reels when I go back to Arkansas. So I got to pay her in fruit snacks. I think her agent, Miss Kawana, said I got to pay her in fruit snacks, because it was a time I could have got away with a little chocolate milk, but chocolate milk ain't gonna do it no more. I gotta pay the baby in fruit snacks. All right. So we gotta be careful who we connect to. This isn't about any crowd. It's about the right crowd. But why is it that we will bleed publicly, but won't take the time to heal privately? Right. And so once we heal and we start to have these proper associations now, because let me tell you something. Have you ever seen anybody bleeding but's all out in public, just walking around bleeding on folk? Then why do we do that in our personal lives with our problems? Anybody that knows me knows that when I started this podcast, one of the things I did was in the beginning, I was very intentional when I started, because I was trying to get the necessary therapy. I didn't want to go to a therapist. So I started asking people that were going through the same things that I was going through to come on the show. And I listened. I still ended up going to therapy. I still ended up going to therapy, no doubt. But it taught me some things. It helped me be alone. And more than anything, it helped me turn down the noise. And when I turned down the noise, then I could hear God. And God started leading me again. At the same time, he started saying, I really never left you. I was always here. I was hey, AJ, I ain't gonna lie. I was a sympathy hound too. I felt like I needed that attention. I'm just being real with you. Right. And so now that I'm healed, and I am, Lord have mercy. Now God is starting to restore the years. He's starting to allow me, watch this, to change circles and connect to a different crowd. I'm be honest with you, some of y'all that I used to rock with, and the phone don't ring like it used to ring, it's a reason. God's moving me to a new level. And where you're going, Kawana, where you're going, Kim, congratulations on the call. Where you're going, AJ and Tanisha, everybody can't go. Let me pause. Everybody can't go. So therefore, some folk that were hanging around, see, some folk, like, they only follow for the fish and the loaves. They only follow for what you can do for them. They only follow for what they think you represent. But the moment you stop paying the bill, the moment you stop being the life of the party or whatever you want to do with participating in their pity parties or their misery sessions, the moment you stop, then they disconnect from you. But people that are supposed to be in your life, it ain't like that, because you have quality relationships, because it's all about quality relationships. It's not just quantity. Does that make sense? Because understand, quality relationships are the strongest predictors of long-term happiness. When you got folk in your life who are genuinely concerned about you, not because, Kawana's on here. Kawana's on here. Man, like I've talked about Kawana a lot over the years, but I've been knowing Kawana since about 1988. And we've talked off and on over the years, but when I go to Arkansas, if I just need to break away for a minute, I can go to North Little Rock. And Kawana, when I walked in the house, now anybody that knows me knows that there was a time I had a phobia of dogs. Phobia. I'm not as bad because I got one, and I'm much better. But pit bulls still, make me a little apprehensive at times. So But when I went to home, and because Kawana knew the relationship that we have, that's my sister, she said, now come on in the house and you're going to have to get used to this dog because we're not going to put this dog up every time you come over here. It's not going to happen. So come on in and get used to this dog. But that was a quality relationship. And we cool. We can cuss each other out sometimes. We can laugh. We can share. She'll listen. I'll listen. And we good. And we've been like that. Kawana, tell me if I'm wrong. If I'm lying, go on, tell me I'm lying right now so I know. Yeah. Quality relationships are the strongest predictors of long-term happiness. I got Myra on the phone. Myra and I have only seen each other in person maybe 2-3 times at the most. But we're friends. We're cool. We have a quality relationship. We could talk about anything. She'll call me and start whining something. I'm joking. But that's my homie. Kim Robinson on here. That's my partner. Me and Kim, how long we been knowing each other, Kim? Since 2000, no. Since 98. 99 when I was coming to Muskegon doing revivals. But these are quality relationships. And do you realize see, listen, don't think when I say that isolation is the way to start healing, that it's you don't stay there. But it's necessary for a while because, typically when you're hurting or when you sore, that's the most susceptible time for infection. Right? I remember when I was a little boy, if I had a cut, if I went outside and got a cut or something like that, when I came in, Mama Phyllis, that's my mama, my stepmom, that's my mama, she would put an antiseptic on it. But after she put an antiseptic on it, she covered it up with a Band-Aid, gauze, something, because she didn't want it open in the air, because she didn't want it to get infected and she didn't want me to infect anybody else. When you are shown up healed or healing, you don't need to be around people. But after you've healed, now you do need to be around people. Now, realize peer support groups, like grief counseling groups, divorce groups, peer support groups can boost emotional recovery by up to 70%. Do you realize that? But I'm talking about amongst proper association. It's not just showing up at church. Paul knew that at church it was going to be some people that weren't the spiritual ones. That's why when he was talking to a specific church, he said that if a man be overtaken in a fault, only a certain segment of the church is qualified to deal with them. Not non-spiritual people had no business dealing with them. He said, so if a man be overtaken in a fault, ye which are spiritual, Galatians 6, I believe that's where it is. He says, ye which are spiritual, restore such a one. Does that make sense? I see you. Mello said I was stuck there. His name says AJ Gonzalez, but because me and Mello been knowing each other since we were in about the 7th grade, I call him Mello. So we've been knowing each other for a very, very long time. But Mello, I get you. He said he was stuck in isolation. And you know what, Mello? Thank God you were stuck in isolation. Because you need to stay stuck in isolation until you get the lesson that you need. See, a lot of this ain't in this whole walk of life, this Christianity, whatever you doing in this thing you call life. I don't know what you call it. I call it something, whatever. I don't know what you call it. But in this thing, you don't just get participation trophies, right? If you don't pass the test, you don't get the testimony. Boy, y'all ought to send an offering. I'm preaching better than y'all letting on tonight. Listen, if you don't complete the test, you don't get the testimony. So if you're in isolation, get every initiative while you can in the isolation, and while you're there, that's what happens. Let me put it on the screen. He said, my eyes were opened in the isolation. Have you ever been in a dark room? Have you ever been in a dark room and you can keep your eyes closed for a little while, but if you open your eyes in a dark room, after a while you're able to adjust, right? You can even see in the darkness. Tell the truth. Am I the only one? Raise your hand. Tell the truth. Am I the only one? So even if you're in the pit, if you're in the low place, if you open up and use all of your senses, yeah. Healing isn't staying alone. It's choosing who you're gonna walk with next. During my suffering season, my without the mess, no message. When my suffering season, you know, because I love to tell the story about Elijah by the brook of Kirklin. After his time alone, he ended up finding Elisha. And Elisha was not just a friend, but he was a divine connection for the next season. You don't know who God has you connected to. Let me see what Kawana said, because this makes sense. Kawana said, babies are isolated in darkness for protection to grow and develop before coming into the light, seeing the people in incubation. Yes, Lord. And we're babes. And God, you know what? In every time God takes us to another level, it's like a rebirth. It's like he's birthing something out of us, right? That's why we're told to push, pray until something happens, because life is about the labor pains, you know, and sometimes the labor pains really do hurt, especially in isolation. And that's why you have to have the proper association. Sometimes you need, thank you, Kawana, sometimes you need that spiritual midwife, somebody who's delivered before. Somebody who's been through the same thing and delivered, right? And because they delivered, they made it through. They saw it through. How many times have you been stuck on almost? I'll wait. How many times have you been stuck on almost? I preached a sermon about the agony of almost. The children, the disciples were almost on the other side of the lake. But then all of a sudden, in the fourth watch of the night, Jesus came walking on the water. And then when he came, the wind became contrary. They were almost to the other side, and then the storm came. How many times were you almost where you were trying to get, and then the storm came? But it's good to have somebody to say, be of good cheer, because it's me. You need somebody to say, hey, guess what? It's going to be all right. I've been where you are. And they'll hold your hand when you really had the proper association. So it goes from number one, it goes from isolation. Number two, it goes, hey, oh man, AJ, man, good. Thank you, bro, for popping in for a little while. So you go from number one, isolation. Number two, you go into proper association. And this is the third one, and this is the last one I'm going to do tonight. I'm going to cut it short tonight, and I'm going to finish the rest probably Wednesday, maybe Wednesday. But this is the last one I'm going to do. After isolation, and after proper association, then comes the third step. Let me do it like this. Isolation is the power of pulling away. Proper association is connection that corrects and covers. But the third step is consolation. It's comfort that calms and confirms. It's comfort that calms and confirms. Because, see, what proper association does, it creates the space for consolation. And consolation is that deep, soul-level comfort that reminds you, here it is, listen, here it is. It reminds you that you're still loved, you're still called, and more than anything, you're still enough. If you believe that, type in the comments now, I'm enough. Type that in the comments. Just say, I'm enough. When you have proper association, type that in the comment, I'm enough. When you have proper association, it creates the space for consolation, that deep soul-level comfort that reminds you, I'm still loved, I'm still called, and more than anything, I'm still enough. Because in that silent season, in that moment of isolation, with an improper poisoned perception, you'll look at it as punishment and don't realize it's a platform for promotion. And you'll think that you're disqualified. I'm not telling you what I heard. I'm telling you what I did. See, it's a difference in when Paul says, I count all things lost for the excellency of the knowledge of Christ Jesus. When Paul said, I count all things lost, he's basically saying I forfeited those things on purpose, because when I looked at it, I had a choice. Do I want knowledge, or do I want Christ Jesus? Do I want I count all things lost I count all things lost because I really want to know more Jesus, because everything else I've done does not compare to what's in front of me right now, right? So I count those things as lost. But it's one thing when I willingly forfeit it, I give it away because I'm choosing this, or when I messed up and lost it, that's something totally different. That means something took it away from me. That means I made a mistake. I messed up something good. I messed up my good thing. And it makes people like Sean, who was my Lyft driver tonight, it makes him say, well, why are you talking about marriage if you didn't survive your marriage? I wanted to cuss him, Kawana, but I didn't. I taught him. I taught him. And when I left, you know what he said? He said, man, you wrote a book, man. You want to come be upstairs? You want to bless me? I said, did you bless me with this ride? No, I'm joking. I didn't say that. I gave him a book. I did. I gave him a book. And I'm going to see if he reads it, right? And he wants to connect. Now, I hear him talking about he want to connect. He got about 145 followers, but and I really don't like when people tell me, man, you're going to want me on your podcast. What about you make me want you on my podcast? Never mind. Yeah. Anyway, consolation isn't about ignoring your scars. It's realizing that your scars don't get the final word. Because scars are able, if you allow them to, right? If you allow them to, scars are able to preach their own testimony. Because scars in and of themselves are proof that you've gone through whatever test it was that you've gone through. Because if you have looked at the process of the scar, you understand that the scar used to be a sore. Right? And somewhere along the process, it went from being a sore to being a scab. And when it was a scab, you could tell, see, the scab was very necessary because it was proof that you were healing. See, that's what God does. See, God is so much God that he sees you in your process. So what God does is he'll give you sneak previews of coming attractions. So because you're hurting, and while you're hurting, he'll start showing you that you're on your path towards your healing by taking your sore and converting it into a scar. And what the scar does is the scar does what the Band-Aid does. It does what the gauze does. It starts to provide a protective covering for the scar. Now, what we do sometimes, because we want to accelerate the healing, is we'll try to turn around and pick at the scar. And what we don't realize is that oftentimes while we're picking at the scar is we're prolonging the healing process. Does that make sense? So what we got to do is we got to learn how to be careful. We have to learn how to be cautious while the healing is taking place, and don't pick it. That's why you got to be around people who've been through what you've gone through. See, when my daughter went to get her wisdom teeth pulled, when she came home, I could tell her, now, last thing you want to do, Mackenzie, is drink out of a straw. Because I've had wisdom teeth pulled before, and I made the mistake, even though I was told not to, I still would drink or do something that I shouldn't have done and let air get in my mouth. And so anybody who's had wisdom teeth pulled and didn't listen to the doctor, and air got in that space where their healing was taking place, that's called dry sockets. That hurts. That's painful. But somebody who has experienced dry sockets can tell somebody who could potentially experience dry sockets what to do to avoid dry sockets. Does that make sense? See, when you've been, y'all ain't trying to hear what I'm talking about tonight. I'm boring y'all, right? I'm boring y'all. I understand. I get it. But no, after isolation, and you've started to go through proper association, you're changing circles, you're changing crowds, now you start to get that consolation. Do you realize faith-based counseling, gratitude journaling, and spiritual practices can reduce depression symptoms by 30 to 40%? Why are we not doing it? Faith-based counseling. Do y'all ever do that? I have. Gratitude journaling. That's just opening up your book or opening up if you like to write. And if you don't like to write, open up your sound recorder and just start talking. And you can dictate, you got apps that you can dictate where you talk and it writes it out for you. You can go back and edit it or whatever you got to do. You got to do something because, listen, in the book of Job, Job's real healing didn't start when he got everything back. It started before then. It started when he saw God more clearly and he prayed for the same people who were trying to understand why he was going through such a downfall. Let me see what Marcus Ridley said. Marcus says, yep, been minimizing my life from a material aspect and association standpoint. It took me a few years and I'm better than I was. No more dry sockets. That's good. That's good. And you know what you can do with that, Marcus? You can help somebody else who might potentially experience dry sockets. And let me ask you a question. When you're looking for consolation, where do you find it? I got a few people who call me now, and I appreciate the fact that they've given me that position in their lives. I appreciate that. I'm not trying to start a church, not trying to start a ministry, not trying to do any of those things. But certain people just call because certain things that, yeah, when you've gone through it and you don't mind sharing it, it makes a difference. So where do you find consolation? I'll give you. Do you find it in prayer? Do you find it in worship? Have you gotten comfortable being alone? I wanted to play this video. Let me see if it uploaded. Have you got, I'm at a point now and it's almost scary that I'm so comfortable being alone now. Does that make sense? I am so comfortable being alone. Oh, I didn't upload the video. That's fine. I'll play it next week. But I'm so comfortable in my own skin. I've never, and it feels good. I've never felt this good before. I got my cousin. She one day she was, people were talking about. I was telling them that I was an introvert, and they were like, "No way." And she like, "Well, no. I remember when you were a little boy, you were always off to yourself. And I'm a type person that can be in a crowded room. And even though I'm in a crowded room, I feel like I'm by myself. I can open up a book, start reading. I can take out my phone, open up Canva and start putting together some graphics or putting together. I'll be in church and listen to the sermon and start putting together Monday night's podcast. I mean, I multitask. I do those types of things, right? But I'm comfortable with James. Marcus, I know I can't do it like you, but you ain't gotta like me. I like myself, and I'm good with that now. I'm so good with that. I'm so good. You ain't gotta like me. I like myself. So I'm like, hey, what's up, Stephanie? Yeah, took a long time to get here, but I'm here now because I promise you I am. I'm much better than I used to. So whatever you do, don't skip this step. Consolation does not erase your pain. It redeems it. Let me say it again. Consolation does not erase your pain. It redeems it. It lets you know that it was worth it. It lets you know that, and we talked about this last week, it lets you know that your pain had a purpose. That's why I said last week, and y'all know what? I might go ahead and finish this right quick because I'm here. I might as well. It lets you know, like I talked about last week, that chapter 50 Joseph could look at chapter 37 Joseph and understand that the pit was necessary. So when you get to the point where God wants you to be, you can look at what you went through and say it was necessary. It hurt while I was going through it. It was painful while I was going through it. I'm telling you, I had to go back and reevaluate some relationships or some decisions I made in the past while I was in my sore stage. 3 stages: sore, scab, and scar. While I was in my sore stage, and my perception was poison. People that tried to correct me, I looked at them as offending me. And you know what? I chose and I put them in the category as an enemy. And truth be told, a lot of times they were giving me constructive criticism, or they were acting out of what I was giving them in that moment. And I was not giving them the best version of myself. I was not giving them the best version of myself. And because I was not giving them the best version of myself, they were trying to tell me how to get where. And I'm like, don't tell me what to do. I don't want to hear it. You ain't my daddy? Whatever. I was in a bad spot, right? People, but I did not have the proper association. So when you've gone through isolation, we're talking about the steps to getting unstuck. When you've gone through isolation and now you're in the getting proper association, and now you've started to receive that consolation, guess what happens now? You have proper expectations. You're no longer delusional. You have that hope that starts to fuel tomorrow. I know I said I was going to stop, but I might as well. Because you go from consolation comes expectation, the rebirth of hope. It's that spark that whispers, maybe, watch this, maybe my best days aren't behind me. Maybe God has not fired me. Maybe the pit was necessary. And because I went through the pit, I can handle this. You know what? I don't feel like it's a whole lot that can shake me because I've been through so much. I've been through it. And the more you go through it, Marcus Ridley, you don't have a fear of loss. You don't have it. Whoever chooses to be in my life, cool. If you choose to walk away, then you don't have to make a exit speech. Because real covenant relationships, Alicia Milton's on here. That's a friend of mine now. We met at one of my podcast events, and we communicate through Facebook. And she holds me accountable. Few times a week she'll text me because I ain't gonna lie, I was one that could go a whole week and wouldn't drink a bottle of water. But I told her that. She said, "Well, you know what? I'm gonna start holding you accountable." And a couple times during the day, she might say, "How many ounces today? How many times have you drank?" And I ain't gonna say, "Stop texting me. I don't want to hear all that." I'm feel convicted, and I found me a water I like. I like Callaway. It's some good water. I like it. Costs a little bit more, but I like it. Now, when I drink this water, I got to run to the bathroom about 1,700 times in a day. But I can't even make it home sometimes. But I got with the right proper association, and she provided the help with that consolation. And now my expectations change, right? Because without expectation, healing can feel empty. But when hope is restored, the heart starts to dream again. Now you realize that God didn't fire you, and that his promises, according to scripture, is they're still yea and amen. Because guess what? If he showed it to you, you're going to see it. Does that make sense? If he showed it to you, that's my faith. Now, I don't know what you believe in, but if you saw a vision, if you saw your children in a better place, if you saw yourself married, you saw yourself in a house, you saw yourself with a better job, if he showed it to you, then your expectations start to change now. Research tells us that hopeful people recover faster and live longer. Clear, hopeful goals increase resilience and lower relapse rates. Abraham, after years of disappointment, found consolation, but it was the expectation of Isaac that kept him moving forward. Ask yourself, what are you hoping for after this season? Don't tell me, tell God. What are you hoping for after the season? Because expectation is faith that dares to look ahead even when yesterday hurt. Expectation is faith that dares to look ahead even when yesterday hurt. Even when it still hurts. When I still feel the pain of yesterday, I don't stop dreaming. Because I understand, like Betty Wright said, no pain, no gain. But I'm not going to amputate. I'm gonna rehabilitate, and I'm gonna get stronger. You know what? Some of y'all, I mean, I watch people. They act like when they get broke that they've reached their existential breaking points, right? When they get broke, they feel like that it's all over. That woe is me and woe is me. Life is hard. Life is hard. But can I ask you a question? Is this your first time being broke? I'll wait. And if he did it then, he will, he will, he will, he will. If he did it then, he'll do it again. This ain't your first time being broke. This ain't your first time being sick. This ain't your first time crying. This ain't your first time being without. This ain't your first time losing a job. This ain't the first time. And if he brought you through last time, why don't you trust him to bring you through again? Tell me, please. But if you understand that expectation is faith that dares to look ahead, that's all expectation is. It's not being prophetic. It's not, you don't have to come up with no deep revelational thought or term to describe it. It's just that my mental health is healthy right now. My thoughts are healthy. My thoughts are clear because I've gotten rid of the noise. I've gotten rid of the confusion, and God is not the author of confusion. I'm associating with the right people now, and I've received the consolation, and now my expectations are going forward. And guess what happens now? Now I activate. I go from isolation to proper association to consolation to expectation. And then now what happens? I'm in activation. What you mean activation? It's this podcast I do every Monday night. I could have very easily said, I'm not doing it tonight. I went to the home run derby. I'm tired. I'm sweaty. I work 10 hours a day. I could have said, you know what? I'm gonna sit this one out, but I can't do it. Because I believe there's a Cynthia. Marcus reached out to me today. I had other people reach out to me that are looking forward to this word. Because you know what? So many people, if you be honest, they're stuck right now. People are stuck right now and they don't know how to get unstuck. So you know what they do? They do things that numb the pain. They do things that numb the pain. Some smoke it out, some drink it out, some shoot it out. Some people do whatever it takes to numb the pain. But after after the thrill is gone, after that's gone, still got to deal with the man or the woman in the mirror. I told you, I've told you this before, and I'm finishing. But there was a time, Myra, and I appreciate you. I love you. You know I do. But there was a time when I was really depressed, even in my marriage, that there were times like I knew the alarm clock was going off at 7, but I was waking up at 5:30 praying prayers like that Gideon used to pray, like, Lord, just make the day longer or the night longer so I wouldn't have to face the day. Don't even let the alarm clock go off. I didn't want to face it. 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 I didn't. But as I got healed, got the proper consolation, heightened my expectations, and started moving towards activation. And I realized that healing isn't just for you to feel better. It's so you can be better for someone else. You hear me, I always say I'm on the path to better, right? And when I talk about being on the path to better, what I'm saying is I want to become the very best version of myself. And so what happens is God starts associating me with people, right? Things that I used to couldn't do. I ain't gonna lie, I suck at graphics. I tried, I got a little better at it, but I really suck at graphics, right? But then I met this young lady, little college student named Ariana. And if you all need any graphics, any type work, honestly, book help, anything, Ariana Perlow, that's my graphic artist. I can call her to now and tell her what I need, and she's gonna make my graphics look like I need them to look. But God starts putting people in your life when you start making the proper association. I got people who do certain things for me, right? Because God started aligning me with people to help me move the vision forward. And a lot of them, they're not asking for pay. Some of them are. Of course, Ariana is, because but she's not charging me probably what she charges some other people, and that's okay. And if she does, I'm not mad at her because I get quality work and I get it fast, and she helps me look better for y'all. She made me some type of brand kit. I don't know what it's used for, but she keep telling me. She told me I needed it, so I believed her. But God starts to put you with certain people, and that was the consolation. And now it's changed my expectations, and now I'm activated. I'm better for you. This is when your pain becomes purpose, and your scars start to become a testimony. Because research shows that trauma survivors who help others find new meaning and show higher life satisfaction, right? Myra, does that make sense? Trauma survivors who help others find new meaning and show higher life satisfaction. When I met Myra after her and heard her testimony about how God delivered her from Hodgkin's lymphoma, I said, "What kind of work you do now?" She said, "Well, I just help others who are going through what I've gone through." That's powerful. That is so powerful. Myra has a scar, and that scar has scars. I'm sure. I've never seen her body. Don't get me wrong. Never seen her body like that, other than what maybe a dress or something like that she might have had. But I'm sure she had scars from all the surgery she had because she's a cancer survivor, Hodgkin's lymphoma. I think 4% of people in the world get that a year. What's the statistic, Myra? I forgot. It's been a minute. But very few people. It's a very rare form of cancer, and she survived it. So she's a trauma survivor. So what she does now, she helps others who are going through the same thing, transition, or she helped them find new. And when she helps them, Myra finds new meaning, and she shows a higher life satisfaction. 8,000 people per year, out of all the people in the world, 8,000 people per year contract Hodgkin's lymphoma. She was one of the 8,000. And she's here to tell the story. Go to her page and look how beautiful woman. As we say it in the country, beautiful. Myra, I'm not flirting, but beautiful. And she doesn't look like what she went through. Go back and look at that show we did back in the day called I Don't Look Like What I've Been Through. But trauma survivors who help others find new meaning and show higher life satisfaction. She said, "Yeah, better odds of winning the lottery than surviving Hodgkin's lymphoma." Wow. And guess what? Purpose-driven living boosts happiness and health. Can anybody else relate to that? So many people wander aimlessly and are depressed because they don't have purpose, or they've not connected to their purpose. And because they have not connected to their purpose, they're not happy. Because for those type of people, happiness is based on happenings. And if things are not happening the way they think they should happen, then they end up being miserable. And they stay stuck in isolation. Joseph didn't heal just to forget his brother's betrayal. He healed so he could save nations. Who needs your story? Who could your healing help set free? Because healing kept private dies private. But activation multiplies healing to the world. I'm tired. It's time to go. I'm gonna cut across the field. Anybody got any questions before I close out? Anybody got any questions, comments, concerns? The link is in the chat. The phone number is there. It's 11:37. I've been on for an hour and 23 minutes because I wasn't gonna cut y'all short. I wasn't. Even though I enjoyed myself and got a chance to go watch the home run derby. That's a bucket list item now. But let me give you those steps again. How to get unstuck. How to get unstuck. Number one, go through a period of isolation. That's the power of pulling away. Number two, go through get proper association. You need connections that correct and cover. Number three is consolation. That's the comfort that calms and confirms. But number four is expectation. That's when that's that hope that fuels tomorrow. And step number five is activation. That's when you move from healed to helping. I'm believing God that he's going to move or change some of your addresses, where he's going to move you from healed, like Myra, like I'm trying to do now. He's going to move you from healed to helping people. Now, if you want to bless this platform, this is the Cash App. That's the Zelle, and that's also the PayPal. So if you want to be a blessing, some of y'all show up every week and you get a word, and you appreciate that word, and you want to sow a seed for the platform to help the platform grow, it would be much appreciated, and it will be used accordingly to help continue the growth of this platform. Okay, so Cash App is Cash App the Intellectual Stew. Zelle is 678-732-5440. And the PayPal is jkirklin2@gmail.com. I have several people who help support this platform. I have Urban Apparel in Flint, Michigan, where the proprietor is Mr. Thomas Smith. I have Longwood, Health Center there in Orlando, Florida, where and I know I just said the name wrong, but the proprietor is Coy London. I have Pastor Rayfield Evans in Columbus, Mississippi. He's the pastor of the Southside Missionary Baptist Church. He gives us sows seeds into us from time to time, because there are those who believe in what we're doing. And so because they believe in what we're doing, they try to sow a seed to show their appreciation. And you don't have to, but those that do, like I said, it is much appreciated. So tonight, we walked through a path that involved isolation, led to proper association, stopped by consolation, swerved through expectation, and ended up with activation. And we understand now, we should understand, that being stuck is not a final sentence. It's a season. And seasons change. Healing is not instant, but it is possible. Step by step, day by day. So if you are listening tonight and you feel stuck, do me a favor. Start with one step. Step back, step away, and trust God to guide you through the rest. If this episode spoke to you, share it with someone else who might feel stuck too. And remember, you're not just healing for yourself. You're healing for everyone you'll help next. You hear me? You're healing for everyone you're going to help next. This has been the Intellectual Stew. I'm your host, James Kirklin. And remember this, the world is changing. My question for you is, why do you remain the same? Y'all have a good night. And man, I love y'all. We'll talk soon.
Intellectual Stew. Intellectual Stew with James Kirklin.
Powerful and provocative. Prophetic and practical.
Have you ever found yourself?
Are you dating for that person?
Informative and
I feel
inspirational.
every bit of it. Like, I'm not trying to waste my
How you gonna do better if you don't know what better looks like? I do.
Intellectual Stew.
Come on, let's talk about it with me, the Mind Massager.
Intellectual